Alright, welcome back everybody to more Roadwarden. Let's get right into it. He rubs his hands together, pressing a thumb against his palm and looking at the sky. Such as the druids, the necromancers, the golem maker, dangerous souls with no reason to help us. Okay, I was actually already... Yeah, what did I do? Can you tell me about Asterion? Did I ask that already? Yeah, I think I just started then. Because this stuff usually disappears as I ask about them. What can you tell me about Asterion? Huh, an update. Let me think. He looks at the sky and clenches his fist around the strap of his bag. The first time he was here, we asked him to find us some iron in Gale Rocks. The second time, he did bring us a few scraps, but was wounded. A piece of flesh bitten away from his thigh. Said that a hundred-legged worm had caught him off guard in a meadow. Instead of his pay, we offered him a potion. Tell me about Gale Rocks. He hesitates, but finally nods. Just some seaweed eaters. Their soil is barren, but the strongest of them spend their days on the boats, among the sharp rocks. Those who can't hunt or hunt for fish, boil water to make salt. They trade with other villages, more than anyone in the peninsula, for crops, wood, and meat. He snorts. But they're weak folk, weak and angry, like a wolf beaten and kicked from a pup. Loud, ready to bite. But all it takes is for someone to raise their hand, then it jumps away in whimpers. He lets go of his bag. At least they follow Wright's teachings. Okay, anything noteworthy about the iron he delivered? Scavenged from furniture. A few of them were rusty. Who knows where he bought them? We melted them for nails. Do you know anything interesting about the path leading through the heart of the woods? I used to, but like all places that belong to beasts, it shifts every year. The only reason why it still has trails at all is that creatures use our paths as their own game trails. Only a dimwit would try to cross it now. After you ask him if he knows any such person, he takes a deep breath. Well, last I've heard, Quintus, the gatekeeper from Old Pagos, is missing or dead. He's a brute and an idiot. Can't understand jokes, but can't stand weaklings. Huh. If ye, if ye, thou ever meet him, just smile and let him speak as much as he needs to shut up. Alright, I'm trying to learn about the local bandits. Then ask in the villages. He looks at the wooden entrance hall behind you. No group is going to bother us, for they've got no understanding of our pneuma and potions. Do you need any help? I'm looking for a job and money and food. He puts his hands together and repeatedly taps his fingers. After a few breaths, he straightens up. No. Dang it. Okay, I have some questions about the monastery. And what could those be? Why, that's a whole lot of questions. Okay, does this place have a name? Or is it just a monastery? Depends on who thou ask, est. It's the largest temple on the side of Hag Hills, and the only one beside the sacred cave in Gale Rocks. He points at the huge hourglass. Is it Wright's Summit? Or the Temple of Old Pagos? Or High Caves, like they used to be for my Nana? He rests his thumbs behind the rope on his waist. The tribes come and go, the names shift. For now, we all know what we mean by the monastery. What can you tell me about your order? This is gonna be a long one. How does one describe the air they swallow, the water they draw each day? His contemptuous yet playful smile makes it clear he doesn't seek your answer. I can tell thee it's not old, but older than thou, and that its monks work and pray, but it's not a place, nor a congregation. Words don't reflect our purpose, for human tongue is meager and stupid, and so are our ears. He straightens up and puts up a more serious tone. We look for knowledge, knowing will not uncover the truth. We study herbs, mushrooms, rocks, and winds. Old Pecos feeds us, and we take care of its orphans. He glances at Decima. Heal its sick, write down its stories. We silence our thoughts, fix our past wrongdoings. Seek peace and understanding. I've seen and touched stuff I can't even name, and they were very delightful. I now find no difference between what I do to keep my cell alive and what to fulfill the right's will. An old woman without her hood, who leaned forward while walking, exits one of the caves and walks along the rock fence, from time to time stopping in place to watch the garden. The scars on her face can't distort her kind smile. Huh, well, that's a thing. Does this place have a leader of sorts? He crosses his arms and takes a look at the mouth behind him, then gives you a harsh look. If our prelate was willing to see thee, they'd let thee know. I'm willing to prove that I'm trustworthy. We'll see, maybe. Okay, I guess we must go for this then. He takes a deep breath, puts on the hood, and closes his eyes. His voice, while still hoarse, becomes monotone, like a scribe reading a list of the dead. The right is the greatest of souls, the wall of light that protects humankind, the life after death. Those who follow their teachings will abandon their cells. To follow means to guard right's tribe and help it grow in strength and peace. To achieve this goal, one needs to learn and to accept the creation of its nature. This allows us to shape matter, souls, and pneuma, without turning them against us. To be a monk means to find freedom in right's tablets, to abandon one's ambitions. I serve right's will, I let it build my salvation. I prepare the tribes for their end. He takes off his hood again. For the first time you see true gentleness in his eyes. May these words be carried with my blood, so be it. Huh, let's lie. So be it, sir. He smiles and adjusts his robe. Yes, may they be written on my soul. You catch a glimpse of resentment on Decima's face, but she turns away from your gaze, shaking her black ponytail. Huh, I don't think she fell for it. How does one become a monk? He lets out an amused grunt and clasps his hands together. When one needs to join an order, they find a way. It's not aught thou wantest, but a stuff that happens to thee. Okay, give me an example. Oh, I don't know. Abandon us to thy past. Throw thy pet down the cliff and pray. Ew. Am I supposed to throw the palfrey? You don't find even a hint of playfulness in his voice. After a long pause, he carries on. Okay, I'd like to learn some of your knowledge about the peninsula. No, he sighs. The Order protects what it knows, and we seek no wealth. But weren't you supposed to be sharing the knowledge? Wasn't that your prayer? I might have to go back to that. You remind him of your trade, and he responds with annoyance. Knowledge builds and destroys the cities. We, he points at two monks who are seeking snails among the garden patches, are responsible for what we bring from our journey. A blacksmith isn't judged by the depths of their swords, but they often sell them to scoundrels. Let's see. It's freedom and peace and understanding the world. It's strange that wouldn't share what you know of it to other people. Huh. I'll say this one. I use what I learned to protect other people. And thou thinkest our books and studies are going to help thee? Just keep thy cell healthy. Take care of thy pet. Listen to elders. I'm trying to listen to an elder, but he's not going to tell me anything. Let's return to my other questions. He rubs his bandaged wrist. Now, why can't I spend the night here? What time is it? It's really early. I don't think I actually care. But we'll say it anyway. Want us to give thee a chest and a weapon rack too? Yes. Or maybe feed thy mouflons in our gardens, or ask us to bed with thou. Maybe. It's not an inn. We respect the hardships of one's journey, so we don't scare off the strangers who cross the mountains, but we don't let them wander about and take our time for granted. He looks at his bandaged wrist, makes a fist, then opens it and stretches out his fingers. Maybe with old Pagos locked, our older rules too shall change. Huh. Okay, what do you know about the necromancers in the north? He rubs the liver spots on his forehead with his bandaged hand, looking with one eye at his sword companion. This and that. Okay, northwest is that way. I heard I can find them in the northwest. He nods. Head back to the crossroads, then north, then right, into the bogs. There you'll find white marshes. The tribes used to forage and gather peat, but now it follows Orentius, their priest. Who knows, maybe he's the reason why so many travelers have disappeared on the roads. Dang it. Decima scratches the ground with her foot, humming a tune. But Ailey tells her to shut up. He carries on with sudden anger. Huh. The story is as old as the rites tablets. Tribes look at monsters and ask themselves, how can we use them? Their pride pushes them into their own fall. They hurt the innocent, then vanish in flames, or awake as empty ones. Okay. Any thoughts on Orentius? He's never been here. He's locked in that hut, a prisoner of his own conscience, speaking to his tribe as to children. Could there be a darker joke? A necromancer who calls himself a prophet? As he snorts, Decima puts on a wide grin. What next? An emperor bathing in blood? No follower of the right could survive such a fall. What's your stance on necromancy in general? He pulls his finger, gathering his thoughts. My stance? I don't need one. I trust the right. The dead makers must be weeded out. Their power brings only fogs. One may think the spellcaster is in control of the cells, but once they lose their breath, the dead are freed, searching for blood. Humans will never control the dead. How does one deal with the undead, or necromancers? Well, well. Is it a single corpse, a squad, an army? Thou needest to learn how shrewd the enemy is. Can it sense thy presence? Can it use a bow, or spells? As long as thou art alone, it's always better to run. The older empty ones, uh, even more so those that weren't awoken by the fog, get cunning, human-like, but with cruelty thou hast never seen. What was White Mars's like before the priests arrived? The priest's arrival, blah. Far from lovely, his smirk softens as his eyes grow worried. It's been struggling for years, with food, children, the beasts of the bogs. The traders, they were strangers to us, even in the old days. When they used to join old Pagos in their pagan feasts, he looks at Decima, who listens to his tale curiously. But then the monks arrived, and that bridge went down with flames. When the missionaries reached the bogs during the years of wars, there were already some wounds that could never be sealed, not even by a shared prayer. Huh. Let's return to my other questions. Would you like to barter? Not today. Not before the spring. Our order uses every bottle we make to help the sick from old Pagos, as well as to protect ourselves. I could bring you dragon bones, or something that doesn't grow in the mountains. He looks at the steel hourglass hanging from the wall. Taste, softness, tools of murder. We shall crave not. One thing we lack for our delicacies, we could offer to the sick and weak, but thou wilt not find such a thing in this sad land. Finally, I was asked to look for a healing potion for this trader, Akakios. A brief mention of the dolmen is enough to spark an understanding gleam in the monk's eyes. I know of this place, even spent the night there once or twice, but if thou truly thinkest it hides stuff from our eyes, head to someone who cares about these paths. Try Foggy. Is that somebody? He turns his head around, scratching his ear. The tavern keeper of the northern crossroads. She might have heard something. Okay. So there should be a tavern keeper somewhere in the northern crossroads. And I think he's done talking to me. Now, where am I? I'm over here. Old Pagos. Forest Garden. Let's see. Crossroads, right? Northern Crossroads. I guess maybe up here where it's further north. Let's try it. You're squeezed between the hills and the forests. The only larger beast you spot is a single saurian, basking on a boulder, lazily observing you from a safe distance. Your ears catch the howls coming from the north, long and loud, and as you keep an eye on the rock ledges, you almost miss the drastic shift in the landscape. The forest turns into a lake, and the few plants growing next to the road mostly bear fruit. The road is not as reliable here as it was in the hills. Parts of it are a bit muddy, and the puddles disturb your ride. Huh. Maybe the locals will maintain it before it gets swallowed by the lake. Wow, it took me a long time to get here. Okay, the deep, loud yells of howlers are piercing your ears, concealing any other sound in the area. They are sitting on branches and in the tall grass, not really trying to hide. Their thick black and gold furs cover their entire selves, aside from the charcoal black faces with roundish flat noses. But with let's see, let's do that again. Their thick black and gold furs cover their entire selves, aside from the charcoal black faces with roundish, flat noses and white nostrils. The younger members of the pack are about the size of your mount's head, but the larger ones would be chest high if it wasn't for the fact that they walk on all fours. Their long tails are like an additional arm, helping them climb, hang from the branches, or hold food while they eat. They aren't particularly muscular, but when they form their pink lips into the shape of a cup to release their howls, their mouths are as so wide they could fit your entire arm inside. As you listen to the shouts and reach for your head, you feel a weird itch, but somehow you can't scratch it. Huh. To keep my distance, I take a look at the hide behind the boulder. Huh. The whitish rawhide covers the grass like a blanket, surrounded by paw prints. The howlers don't wait for you to approach it. One of the larger ones jumps on the ground, leaning on its hands and challenging you with its gaze. It has a rather blunt teeth. I can't plug my ears. Too exhausted to fight the howlers. I can't get the rawhide fast enough to outrun the monkeys. Wow, I can't do anything. Okay, I guess I'm just leaving. This is the northern road. I assume I have to go further along. Let's see, how much time do I have? 6 hours until it's really late, and about 2 minutes before I have to stop here. These are the crossroads. Maybe I have to go this way. It's not really far north, though. Let's go over here then. You're not used to the scents of the bogs, but you weren't expecting them to be so gentle. The humid air makes you think of smoked meat, and even though you ride by a few rotting carcasses and animal droppings, just as often you cross tiny meadows of pink, yellow, and red flowers. The noises tell stories of never-ending wars between the swarms of insects, frogs in their hideouts, snakes lurking among the purple grasses, birds patrolling both the water and the sky, and the saurians preparing to strike from beneath the surface. You can't separate the sounds of the living from those of the dying, if they're even different at all. You reach a boulder in the middle of the road, on the edge of a large pond. The road splits from here in two directions, but the only smoke you see is to the southeast. No, I can't travel from here, right? Yeah, I guess going this way might be the best chance. But then, I might have to head back to Huller's Den soon. So let's hope that gets me the closer. And actually, I'm out of time, so I'm going to leave this for next time. So, bye!